Hello everyone, welcome to this week's Astrology News Report, an alternate view of world events as seen through the lens of Vedic astrology, presented by yours truly, Ron Berger. Today is August 28th, 2022. In this report, we'll take a look at what's coming up in the zodiac for September 2022. But before we begin, a note to all viewers. The weekly videos on this channel are available to people who donate to the channel. You are watching the once-a-month free public video. If you would like to have access to the upcoming month's weekly reports, stick around for the link at the end of this video to make your donation. Thanks. The main astrology event for September is Mercury Retrograde. Mercury begins its retrograde on September 9th at 14 degrees sidereal Virgo. Back on August 20th, Mercury entered Virgo. Normally, it takes Mercury about 2.5 weeks to transit through a sign. But due to going through a retrograde period, Mercury will remain in this sign for 2 months, until October 26th. So, we all get to enjoy an extra long time of Mercury in Virgo. Mercury is the owner of this sign, which is also Mercury's sign of exaltation. This is good for both Mercury and Virgo significations. It's the planet of rational thinking, ideas, and reasons, and making decisions, in the sign of details and analysis. So this sounds good. Maybe the main criticism of Mercury in Virgo is a tendency to get lost in the details. In any case, the benefits of this rational, reasonable, critical thinking planet-sign combination only lasts until Mercury goes into reverse gear and starts backing up in the zodiac. When retrograde, a planet's significations get delayed and distorted. With Mercury, the detail consciousness is still there, but the details are wrongly interpreted. Communications are delayed and misunderstood. Mercury in Virgo's critical thinking capacity becomes criticism for its own sake. Mercury is the media planet. When it is retrograde, the news reports are incorrect, especially at first. During this Mercury retrograde period, there will be more than the usual distortion due to Mercury being in direct opposition with retrograde Jupiter, transiting on the other side of the zodiac in the middle of Pisces. Jupiter represents the energy of expansion. Jupiter's aspect normally encourages Mercury to think big. Jupiter's optimism normally helps Mercury to think positive. But with Jupiter retrograde, the encouragement for Mercury is not so optimistic and can actually generate the opposite, in other words, doubt. Jupiter is also the planet of belief, of ideology. When Jupiter is retrograde, people stubbornly hang on to their beliefs. Thus, retrograde Jupiter will influence Mercury to think more narrowly, making reasonable discussion even less likely. Note that Mercury retrograde in Virgo puts the planet of communications, in other words, media and messaging, backwards in the USA chart's 10th house, the house of the leadership, in this case, President Biden and the Democrats. Meanwhile, retrograde Jupiter, the planet of beliefs, is backwards in the 4th house of the chart. In a nation's chart, the 4th house is the house of the common people. Looks like Biden and the Dems are going to have some problems explaining things. Mercury will be retrograde for a little more than 3 weeks. On October 2nd, Mercury ends its retrograde right at the very beginning of Virgo, 0 degrees. Mercury will then slowly return to normal forward motion, and its significations will return to normal. Rahu entered sidereal Aries back in March. Rahu is the north node of the moon, one of the eclipse points, the intersection of the path of the sun and the path of the moon. Uranus, one of the outer planets, has been in sidereal Aries since 2017. The conjunction of Uranus and Rahu began over a month ago, and due to Uranus now being retrograde, the two will be within a few degrees of each other through the rest of 2022. Uranus is the planet of independence, rebels, and disruption. Rahu is the significator of demons, ambition, and corruption. This is a combination that gives energy to individuals who want to try things that are not acceptable by conventional standards. Now, retrograde Saturn moves into position to be square to the Uranus-Rahu conjunction. Saturn is the planet of the established order, the planet of stability. The square aspect is a challenging planetary pattern. Planets in square to each other tend to destabilize each other, creating crisis-type events. This is even more the case when the involved planets are incompatible with each other's nature. Uranus is getting boosted by its conjunction with Rahu, and thus the Uranus square Saturn pattern is threatening to stability and order. Since all the participants here are moving very slowly, this problematic combination will be with us for several months. This troublesome formation can manifest as traumatic events on the human plane or through Mother Nature. In any case, it's a threat to the status quo. Venus is the planet of finance, the planet of value. There's been a lot of concern lately about money, inflation, prices of necessities, the Fed raising rates, talk of recession, and so forth. As we might expect, Venus, the planet that represents money, is going to be in some difficulty this month. In Vedic astrology, Mars is considered to send a full-force aspect to the fourth sign ahead of itself. In other words, the square aspect. In a couple of weeks, Venus will move into position to be receiving the square aspect of Mars. Since Mars is the attack planet, this is a very inimical arrangement, and Venus significations are going to suffer. The exact square will be on September 16th. And a week after that, Venus moves into position to receive the direct opposition aspect of Neptune, the planet of doubt and confusion. And this pattern will further exacerbate the recession fears. A planet in conjunction with the Sun can't be seen, a condition in astrology known as combustion. The planet gets burnt up by the Sun. Venus moves slightly faster than the Sun, and this month Venus will catch up to the Sun, becoming combust when it gets closer than 7 degrees to the Sun in late September. The combustion of Venus is generally bad for Venus significations. When we can't see the planet of guidance, we are without guidance. When we can't see the planet of value, true value is hard to determine. Venus becomes combust in the last week of September. At that time, Venus will also be conjunct retrograde Mercury, while in Mercury's sign Virgo. So the damage caused by retrograde Mercury will extend to Venus, creating even more misunderstandings, especially in relationships. Venus and the Sun will still be close together for a couple of months. Venus finally separates from the Sun after mid-November. It will then reappear as the evening star, visible on the western horizon after sunset. Okay, so there's a brief look at some planetary patterns for September 2022. And here's a description of what's coming up in September's videos. September 4th, Mercury Retrograde in Virgo and the effects for your rising sign. September 11th, current transits and their effects on the USA chart and politics. September 18th, Venus combust for 8 weeks, the effects for each of the signs. September 25th, a preview of planetary patterns for October 2022. You'll not want to miss out on all these great upcoming videos, so if you'd like to have access to September's weekly reports, donate $20 by clicking on or touching the donation card you see at the end of this video, which will take you to the donation page. And if $20 for a month is too much for you, you can donate $10. The link for each week's report will be sent to you via your email. Here's the link. Just click or touch the card, which will take you to the donation page. And if the card does not appear, doesn't work, you can find the link in the comment section below. Thank you, and until next week.